A very good evening. Thank you very much for choosing GHOne TV. My name is Kweku. Temeng delight joining you this evening with the latest happenings throughout the country. Well, just before we come through with all the details, let's look at our top stories for the evening. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, rather on a sad note, Ghana thrown into a state of mourning as former First Lady Nana GHOne Rawlings dies at age 76.
Family is obviously in mourning and will crave your indulgence to give us some privacy.
Also coming up tonight, controversial anti-gay bill reignites as it disappears. A day after advertisement on the order paper, we will hear from the majority leader, Mahama Ayariga, who has expressed surprise over the reappearance on the order paper.
Under the watch of the NDC government, this practice will not be allowed.
Tonight we'll hear from the chairman of the Advocates for Christ, Edem Senanu, who says action from the courts is necessary to ensure fair adjudication, plus engage the Parliament's watchdogs, Parliamentary Network Africa, on what this means for the country. And here drama unfolds in High Court Thursday afternoon when lawyers for the former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubwahin, led by Samuel Atachian, staged a walkout during court proceedings. We'll have details shared with you this evening. And elsewhere on the continent, Cameroon's internet access disrupted as election protests continue. We'll bring you those details when we hit the international front. Now, don't forget that we'll be bringing you some updates from our world of business, as well as share with you some details from our world of sports. Be my guest. Stay with us as we share all these stories and many more with you. Thank you very much for choosing GHOne TV. My name is Kweku Temeng. Tonight, we'll start with Insight. Well, on Inside tonight, rather on a solemn moment for Ghana, the state has been thrown into a state of mourning as former First Lady Nana GHOne Rawlings has passed away at age 76. The former First Lady passed away this morning at the Rich Hospital after a short illness in 2025. Ghana lost many great personalities, including musician Charles Kojo Fosu, known as Daddy Lumba, and Dada Kedi, Apostle Kojo Safo, Mamponhene, and Asantehema Nana Ama Konedu Yadom III. Well, you will recall on August 5, 2025, a helicopter crash led to the death of some senior officials on an assignment to Obuasi in the Ashanti region. Well, Dr. Edward Omane Boama, Defense Minister, and Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, and 6 others died in the tragic crash. Well, Nana GHOne Rawlings, who served as First Lady from 1982 to year 2001 during the tenure of her late husband, Flight Lieutenant GHOne Rawlings, was widely recognized for her advocacy for women's rights and social development initiatives.
On 17th November 1948 in Cape Coast. She had her education at Ghana International School, Achimota School, University of Science and Technology, and the London College of Arts. In her roles in politics, she became the First Lady of Ghana for Flight Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings. From 4th June 1979 to 24th September 1979, and continued on the 31st of December 1981 to January the 7th, 2001. She leaves behind a legacy of the 31st December Women's Movement. She was the founder and president of this broad-based, development-oriented, non-governmental organization established in 1982. The movement's goal was the emancipation and empowerment of women at every level of development, focusing on socio-economic and political progress. The movement established over 870 preschools in Ghana and worked on issues like child development, family planning, adult literacy, and promoting women's roles in decision-making. Through her efforts, Ghana was the first nation to approve the United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child in 1991. She also played a crucial role in the adoption of an interstate succession law to protect women's inheritance rights. In her political career, she was elected as the first vice chairperson of the National Democratic Congress, that's the NDC, in 2009. In 2011, she unsuccessfully challenged President John Atta Mills for the NDC's presidential candidate position. In 2016, she became the first woman to run for president of Ghana in a general election with her party, National Democratic Party. She is survived by Dr. Zanato, Amina, Yasantua, and Kimathi Agyemang-Rawlings.
May the soul of the former First Lady rest in perfect peace. Definitely, you would want to get more on her tonight. So let's engage a governance expert, Professor Bafo Agyemang-Dua, for more on this information coming in. Prof, thank you very much for your time tonight. So I want to find out from you, what do you remember mainly any time the name Nana Konadu Agyemang-Rawlings is mentioned?
Thanks for having me. Well, I can tell you, so many things come to mind when you hear the name Nana Konadu Agyemang-Rawlings. Not only because he will be the longest serving First Lady in our country, almost 20 years, but more so for the kinds of activities and actions and accomplishments that he made during that long period. First of all, perhaps she's the only First Lady who was politically engaged. Very political, and she even, as I think it's been said, even though she was one of the founding members of the NDC, she had the courage to break away and form her own party when she discovered, according to her, that the party, the NDC, was veering off the principles upon which the party was founded. So here I'm harping on the courage, a courage to make that bold decision. Not many women will do that. Secondly, I think they mentioned the 31st December Women's Movement. That became a very powerful tool for her to advocate women's empowerment, enhancing the lives and the political participation of women. And I think that is something she should be proud of, and all of us should be proud of. Another thing that also comes to mind is the fact that in addition to all the busy skills that she kept, she found a way to bring up 4 children, almost alone. Because you should know that Mr. Rawlings was a very, very busy politician, going all places and doing his work. And therefore, I don't believe he had enough time to bring up these kids when they were born. So it seems to me like we're not going to do double up motherhood with fatherhood, and successfully brought the 4 children to a level that all of us can appreciate today. So many things can. Finally, I should mention, for many years, especially in the Akan area, I believe maybe it's nationwide, when a man died without a written will, which is something most Ghanaians are afraid to do, according to tradition, the family of the man will come and drive away the woman, the widow. And if the widow is not lucky, nothing of the man will be given to her. Nana Konodu was one individual who championed a new law, the dying intestate, the inheritance law, that now requires all families that if a husband dies without a will, the woman is entitled to half or so of the property. That came in handy to really save women who were very, very badly treated when their husband passed away. And I think these are significant things that we should remember of the former First Lady.
Well, Prof, thank you. Thank you for your time tonight and sharing all those key pointers. I mean, the information has just come through today, so I'm sure we will be engaging you more as the days go by. But we'll stay on some more stories from the former First Lady as Mrs. GHOne Rawlings, despite political differences, acknowledged the strength and impact of some leading female voices in the New Patriotic Party. Well, she disclosed this in the latter part of former President Akufo-Addo's first term of office.
Communications.
Esla
is forthright. She has the energy. She's getting it done. Look at the Chief of Staff today.
Okay,
for the
Freema.
first time, yes, Freema. For the first time, we have a Chief of Staff who's a woman. I haven't heard any negative things around her, but I heard a lot of negative things around the guy.
Nana GHOne Rawlings would forever be remembered. Well, we'll still stay on her story as the convener of the Affirmative Action Law Coalition, Sheila Minka Premo. She's a lawyer, joins us via Zoom for a conversation on her. Sheila, thank you very much for joining us tonight. So what do you remember of Mrs. GHOne Rawlings for her role in Ghana's gender story?
Thank you very much. Good evening to your listeners and to you. It's a very sad day indeed to have lost this woman. Done a lot to promote the rights of women in Ghana. I remember her for the intestate passage, to push for the passage of the Intestate Succession Law, PNDC Law 111, 1985. She will always be remembered for what she did with regard to that. We'd also remember her for all that she did when it comes to issues to do with the girl-child education, the rights of children. You already heard from the previous person about her pushing for Ghana to sign on the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And then in 1995, she led Ghana's delegation to the Beijing conference, the fourth UN Women on Women, held in Beijing. And I know that she pushed for the adding of the girl child as one of the 12 critical areas of concern. I understand it was originally 11. She pushed to add that to it. And in addition, when she came back, she also pushed for the passage of a policy. It was a cabinet's policy on affirmative action. And this policy pushed for affirmative action in the universities to enable girls who fell slightly below the mark for entry into some areas to be given access to university education. It also led to the setting up of the girl child education units of the Ghana Education Service. And then when it comes to local governance, one of the things this particular 1998 policy did was to ensure that when it comes to those who got nominated to local governments, that is district assemblies, etc., they said it was indicated that 40% of government nominees should be women. So she did a lot. She did a lot. Push for, apart from the laws, policies, she also did a lot of push to her organization, push for a lot of advocacy to promote girl child education in all parts of the country. So she did quite a lot.
Well,
when it comes
lawyer,
to
you
women
could share with us, I mean, for, I beg your pardon, a young girl who's growing and might have not seen back in the days the 31st Women's Movement, amongst others. How would you want this industrious woman, how would you want her, such a political figure, how would you want her, a woman who's done a lot, how would you want her to be remembered?
Well, I would urge young people who may not have seen what she did or heard about it to undertake some research to see what she did. Did a lot for girl child education. You know, we had, if you look at the for a period, Ghana's population data when it comes to education, women were the ones who didn't have a lot of access to education. So what she did actually opened the doorway for a lot of young girls to gain access to education. We also heard from the previous person you spoke to that her organization also set up a lot of daycare centers to enable them to be able to have places to take their children so they could engage in their various vocations. And for me, as the convener for the Affirmative Action Law Coalition, she also set the base for the passage of the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act, which was passed in 2024. That's 1121. And in the history, I mean, in the background to the law, it's indicated that the cabinet memo that she pushed for in 1998 played a very big part in bringing the issue up, and then in the drafting of the law. So she did a lot when it comes to women and children in this country. So that you remember her for that and learn from at least her policy, pushing for policies on women and children as something that was very admirable and which we should all at least follow where possible.
I am happy you talked about policies because I am trusting that, you know, some of the advocacy, some of the things that she pushed for today is benefiting a lot of people without they even knowing that there was a woman who once stood for some of these rights, some of these advocacies. Would you want to highlight some of the benefits that today the girl child, the women, and all in general are benefiting from?
Thank you. I think we've already heard about the Intestate Succession Law, 1985 Law 111, which ensures that women have, a fair amount of properties, particularly spousal property. Before that law came into effect, we had a customary law, and our customary law, when it comes to intestacy, person dying without leaving a will, it depends on particularly the male spouse died. Normally, when a female dies, the male will not face so many challenges, but when a male dies and she faces challenges. So under customary law, for those in the matrilineal system, women didn't come in. It's the customary successor who comes in and then would, ask the woman and her children to leave the house. And it led to a lot of problems. For the patrilineals, children would inherit, but the spouse would not inherit. And the children who inherited, when it comes to landed properties, it's only the male children who could inherit the landed properties. The women would not. Then even among those who were married under the marriage ordinance then, when it comes to division of an intestate person's estate, a man would get half his wife's estate, but the woman would only get 1/3. Within the Islamic law as well, female children didn't have the same rights as male children. So that law is a very outstanding law which has benefited a lot of women in our country. And it's something that should be remembered for a very long time. Very important law. And then the policies she passed when it comes to the girl child education, it gave access to more girls to get access to education. It gave women who had done quite well. We all know that women are overburdened when it comes to housework, etc. So sometimes they don't have the same time to work and to study as their male counterparts. So they given access to university education in very important courses if they had slightly lower aggregates as compared to their male counterparts. And it also did very well.
Thank you.
Now, Thank you.
Thank you. Convener of the Affirmative Action Law Coalition, Sheila Menka Premo. Well, she is a lawyer and she joined us on the passing of Nana Konedu Agyeman-Rawlings. Some of the things she should be remembered for. I'll still stay on the subject some more as the deceased First Lady, Nana Konedu Agyeman-Rawlings, was a champion of vocational training in the country. Well, she recounted the story of how her policies allegedly appeared in President Mahamad's manifesto.
I can see that even though I was condemned in 2016 about skill development and skill training, about making salt, and other people have stolen the idea and put them in their manifestos. So,
like who?
Oh, do I have to say it?
I don't know.
Well, I heard it from former President Mahama saying, oh, we can now make salt and skill training and skill development is now the best. They were insulting me about it. And I said, it is key to a country's development. It's key because you can't have 12 million people, let's say, going to school and all becoming graduates. You can't. Every nation needs a categorization of specific duties.
Well, the deceased former First Lady Nana Konedu Agyeman-Rawlings was also a devoted family woman who took great pride in her children's career progression. Well, in a 2020 interview on GHOne television, Mrs. Agyeman-Rawlings disclosed her decision to vote for her daughter, Dr. Zenato Agyeman-Rawlings, who contested on the National Democratic Congress ticket, despite Mrs. Agyeman-Rawlings leading a different political party, the National Democratic Party.
There is no way
did you vote for your daughter?
that I will not vote for my daughter.
Okay.
If I'm in that constituency as well, you know, that's where I've lived, that's where she was born, that's where all my children were born. They grew up there, that's the only constituency they know. So, yes, indeed. And she's doing great things in Kweku, so I'm so proud of her.
May the soul of the former First Lady rest in perfect peace. We'll now move on live to the presidency, where the presidency has confirmed the death of the former First Lady as it extends its deepest condolences to the bereaved family. Well, the family led by first child and MP for Kole, Dr. Zenato Agyeman-Rawlings, have officially informed President John Dramani Mahama and the government of the passing of their mother and former First Lady of Ghana, Her Excellency Nana Konedu Agyeman-Rawlings. Let's now cross over to the official residence of the former First Lady, where my colleague Kelvin Powell is on standby. Kelvin Powell, thank you very much for joining us this evening. So, yes, exactly where do you find yourself tonight and what more can you report on?
Family. So a number of sympathizers and owners have gone through to commiserate with their family in respect of the demise of their mother. And I've seen some party struggles in the person of Dr. Ekoske Gabra, Kenel Bevolate, and of course, Oku Anidoho, and some others came round just to commiserate with them. And after that, the family also make some announcement. They are pleading with their public to accord them some privacy so they'll be able to wrap up their heads together to put out the necessary family and funeral rites that they would put across for all of us to come by and help them, like, have some befitting burial organized for their beloved. So let's take a look at what the family has been saying in terms of privacy to be accorded to them.
Earlier this morning, Her Excellency Nana Konedu Agyeman-Rawlings felt unwell and was subsequently admitted at the Ridge Hospital. Unfortunately, she passed. His Excellency the President was subsequently informed accordingly, and Utufo Osetu the Segura Santini was also informed. His Excellency the President has caused an official statement to be made confirming Nana Konedu's death. At this stage, the family is obviously in mourning and will crave your indulgence to give us some privacy. All further notices will be relayed by the government.
All right, so Kelvin, just there we had the family in there, but in wrapping up, what can you say with security and all surrounding the home of the former First Lady?
All right, so in terms of security, the place is well secured. I have at my back some military personnel who are manning the two entrances that lead to the house. And also on my right, we have a number of policemen who are also here just making sure that peace, order, safety is maintained as far as this environment is concerned.
Powell, thank you very much. We would ensure that as and when there's more information to share with the public, we will definitely be bringing it to you. Our cameras are stationed there, and we will be bringing you all the updates that you would want to know about the passing of the former First Lady, Nana Konedu Agyeman Rawlings. May her soul rest in perfect peace. That will close Insights for tonight. All right, so thank you very much for keeping faith with us. If you're just joining the program, it is News Tonight, and my name is Kweku Temeng. Some more local stories for you, and here the controversial anti-gay bill has once again stirred tensions in Parliament after mysteriously disappearing and reappearing on the order paper within just a day. Well, the bill, popularly known as the anti-gay bill, now sponsored by Reverend GHOne and 9 others, was advertised on Wednesday on the order paper, but was never laid. Speaking at a leadership media engagement today, Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga disclosed that both the Speaker and himself were shocked to see the bill appear on the order paper. Well, according to the Boko Central MP, the controversial bill was already passed last year, but could not take effect due to President Nana Addo Kweku refusal to give it its accent. Hence, it requires no reintroduction. Well, Mr. Ayariga further revealed that the clerk to Parliament considered the advertisement of the bill was done in error. All right, so we want to stay on the subject some more. Let's go over the phone lines and speak to Chairman of the Advocates for Christ Ghana. He's actually on Zoom, Edem Senanu, for more on this development. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Edem Senanu. Let me find out from you. So what's your reaction to this latest development surrounding the anti-gay bill's disappearance and reappearance on the floor of Parliament?
Reappearance and then disappearance. Yes, well, first and foremost, on Tuesday, when the news broke that they were going to table it, we're very excited. And the publicity showing the new team of proponents led by Reverend Ntimfojo, all of that, I mean, we thought that that's a good sign that progress is going to be made. And then subsequently yesterday, we're suddenly told, I saw the clip with Majority Leader saying that he was surprised to see it and that it's not supposed to be on, it was not supposed to have been tabled. Now, 2 things strike me. One, that the leadership of Parliament need to get their act together and not send confusing, chaotic signals to the citizenry. This is a bill that has a lot of interest. Over 90% of Ghanaians have a very strong interest in this bill. So that kind of confusion should not arise. The parliamentary processes are such that the situation where this should have been tabled and then suddenly we are told that that's not what should have happened. And that shouldn't have occurred at all. But secondly, and more substantively, the arguments made by the Majority Leader technically sound right, because on the 28th of February 2024, it was a consensus decision. They passed it. So Parliament had finished its work long before the tenure of that Parliament. And I gather that's not the only bill that had been completed, and yet our past president failed to act on it. And so if government is a continuum and our presidency is a continuum, then it stands to reason that one of the questions we should be asking ourselves is, what has the current government done about it? Because to all extents and purposes, the bill was passed, so the parliamentary part of it is done. And Article 106 gives our president 3 options: to receive an assent, to receive and give feedback that their sections are not happy with, and to receive and to escalate to the Council of State. It seems to make good reason that we should be looking at the presidency for what are the next steps, but the parliamentary leadership itself should be telling us what actions they are going to take.
Well, Adam, this is one controversial bill, like everybody would see it. Now, I would want you to help us understand how critical is it for the courts and other institutions to step in to ensure the adjudication of this matter when it comes to this bill and its assenting?
Only to the extent that the leadership of Parliament are not clear that we need to they need to escalate it back to the presidency. Because in our view, the constitutional elements did not provide for the option that our previous president took. He acted ultra vires. That option is not part, you don't find it. Article 106 doesn't provide that to say, I will not receive. Because you have the option to receive and say, but these are the portions I disagree with. So take it back and look at it. You can't have the people's representative pass something and then, the president say no. So in my view, it is only if Parliament over the next 4 weeks or so are not able to categorically state, okay, we finish our part. It is up to the president in the same way that any contract signed or any documents that were pending, draft contracts from past, the past presidency would be sitting on the desk of the president. He would need to pay attention to them. So leadership needs between the parliamentary leadership and our executive. They need to give us a sense of the direction. Otherwise, what will happen is that, some of us may need to go to the Supreme Court for interpretation of what happens under these circumstances.
And then thank you very much for sharing details and linking it to us that this strictly lies between the legislature and the executive. We're really grateful for your time. I'll continue with the conversation, and we'll also here speak to the executive director of the Parliamentary Network for Africa, Sami Obeng. Sami, thank you very much for your time. Now, from parliamentary governance perspective, how concerning is it that such a bill could mistakenly appear on the other paper? And even Clark admittedly saying that it was done in error.
Well, the institution of Parliament, it being a human institution, has the tendency occasionally to make a few errors here and there. The clerks, the leadership of Parliament, etc., are not infallible. However, by the very nature of this situation, if you look at it strictly in accordance to what it takes before a bill that has actually that gets lined up on the order paper of Parliament, in the business statement of Parliament, gets on there, it means that it would have gone through a few pre-parliamentary processes to be able to get there. I don't think that it's a mistake that this matter may have gone through those pre-parliamentary processes of the administrative approvals, the gazettes notifications, the discussion at business committee for it to get on there. But even if it is claimed that this was done in error, then we have to find the solution to what the next steps are. Because yes, there is a piece of legislation, draft legislation that has been passed by a previous parliament. The president of the day has not assented to it, and that conversation certainly cannot be left to lie without it being attended to.
All right, Sami, so share with us more broadly, what impact could this confusion that obviously you've shared with us, this confusion have on public trust in the legislative process? If you can help me shortly. Well,
if I got your question correctly, you're asking how this error may affect
obviously,
public.
This error.
Well, like I said, it's a human institution. Sometimes those of us who follow Parliament, we know that some of these errors occasionally do happen. How Parliament remedies it eventually is what goes to show that indeed it was an error that was genuinely made or it was a deliberate situation. In this case, I agree with Adam 100% in some of the points that he made, earlier on. So far as we are concerned at Parliamentary Network Africa, this bill, together with the other bills that passed in the 8th Parliament, which were transmitted to His Excellency the President, had gone through all of the processes, the parliamentary processes necessary. They had been passed by Parliament. And so now we cannot come back to Parliament to claim or to act as though these bills have not passed. What is left is for His Excellency the President to do the needful with respect to his prerogative of signing to it, or refusing to sign by coming back to Parliament to give the reasons for that, and then Parliament takes it up from there. What is quite curious is that although the previous president, and again I agree with Adam, erred, so far as we are concerned, in refusing to sign on to these bills, I do not see why it has also taken 10 months with the current president in office not taking action so far as these matters are concerned. And these actions does not necessarily need to be accenting. It could be bringing it back to Parliament with consent, etc., etc. But for us to be hearing the concerns around the need for accent, whether the bill had been passed or not passed, the disagreement between the majority leader and the minority leader at this time is concerned. And for me, that is what needs to be resolved if we need to get the public to really, truly believe that Parliament and parliamentarians don't just deal with issues on the altar of expedient political partisanship, but deal with it within the supreme interest of the Ghanaian people.
Samuel Baines, the Executive Director of Parliamentary Network Africa, we're grateful for your time. We'll still bring you some more local stories. And here, drama unfolded in the High Court in Accra on Thursday afternoon when lawyers for the former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edu-Boahen, led by Samuel Atachian, staged a walkout during court proceedings. Well, this was after the court, presided over by Justice John Eugene Nyadu, had declined their request to adjourn proceedings to abide by a motion filed at the Supreme Court on October 22 to prohibit the trial judge on grounds of alleged bias. Moments after the court had held that the proceedings of the day would proceed with the second prosecution witness mounting the witness box, Samuel Atachia and his team members abandoned the proceedings. Our legal affairs correspondent Mutala Enusa has more.
It was all drama at the High Court in Accra, where lawyers of Kwabena Edu-Boahen, the former Director General of National Signals Bureau, and others are standing trial. What actually happened today was that the main business was for the second prosecution witness to continue with their testimony. Now, lawyers of the accused persons indicated to the court that they have filed a motion at the Supreme Court, and that motion is to prohibit the trial judge, Justice John Eugene Nyadu, from proceeding with the case on grounds of bias. Now, based on that, they want the court to stay proceedings to abide by the outcome of the Supreme Court, a case that they say would come up next week. Now, prosecution led by A.C. Denta Yanka, a principal state attorney, vehemently opposed to the request for adjournment and argues that the mere filing of that application at the Supreme Court does not automatically stay the hands of the court for proceedings to be adjourned. She prayed for the trial to proceed. She prayed for the business of the day to proceed. The court, after listening to argument from all the parties and after relying on authorities, came to a conclusion that the court will proceed with sitting without adjourning. This decision from the court did not sit well with lawyers of Kwabena Edu-Boahen, led by Samuel Atachia, where they indicated to the court that they want to leave. The court insisted that proceedings would have to continue. They then have to boycott the sitting, with the court recording that the lawyers have abandoned proceedings.
Well, this is News Tonight. All is set for us to bring you the latest from our world of business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana. Passion for technology.
Well, tonight in business, we get to the presidency, where President John Dramani Mahama has revealed that since the commencement of the flagship Big Push agenda, the government has not borrowed a single dollar from the coffers, that's the international market, arguing that the finance minister will allocate over 30 billion cedis in the 2026 budget. Well, speaking at the launch of the Ghana Infrastructure Plan, a 30-year development plan here in Accra, President Mahama said the Big Push agenda is about efficiency while ensuring regional balance. There's more in this report.
The Big Push Agenda Infrastructure is a $10 billion initiative which seeks to significantly improve national connectivity and economic development. Various road projects have commenced across the country with a minimum of 18 months completion timelines. Speaking at the launch of the Ghana Infrastructure Plan, a 30-year development plan here in Accra, President Mahama said the Big Push Agenda is about efficiency while ensuring regional balance.
We need to take these seriously. I believe that they will provide us with the resources. Can you imagine that with the kind of infrastructure we're doing, We're out of the international capital market. We're not borrowing $1 single from outside. And so somebody asked me, said, so when are you going to return to the international capital market? I said, we're not in a hurry at all. Because I never knew that we could survive without going to borrow for infrastructure. So far we're doing good and we'll continue to keep up.
Despite the failed attempt to implement the country's long-term Vision 2020 agenda, Chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Nimoy Thompson, insisted on the need to implement the long-term plan.
Infrastructure plan was abandoned after the 1966 coup, along with the famous 7-year development plan that it was to support. Both were meant to guide development policies of successive governments through medium-term and annual action plans, creating jobs and building the kind of prosperous and equitable society requirement and vision for us. For a myriad of reasons, neither plan was implemented in any meaningful way. And here we are 10 years later, seeking to pick up the pieces.
Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Sampeh Miyako, on his part, added that the ministry will provide the necessary support needed.
The Ministry of Finance warmly welcomes the Ghana Infrastructure Plan. Our next focus must be on fulfilling 3 critical imperatives: collaborating financing, effective coordination, and strategic communication. And I can confirm that the Ministry of Finance stands ready to co-lead in all fronts.
The initiative was rolled out in 2025, aimed at accelerating infrastructure projects across all 16 regions of the country.
All right, so that's about all we have for you in business tonight. Up next, with Benghazi, we're bringing you the latest from our world of sports.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
And you welcome on to sports, where the Black Queens recorded a 3-0 victory over Egypt in the first leg of the upcoming Women's WAFCON Championship qualifiers. Doris Bodua for the Queens in their thumping win over the Egyptians. The Queens will host the Cleopatras in Accra on Tuesday, 20th of October at the Accra Sports Stadium, knowing they are one step away from qualification for the 2026 WAFCON to be staged also in Morocco. To some volleyball news, and stand coach for Kalibi Volleyball Club, Emmanuel Abeku Anzi Kweku, has expressed excitement over the team's remarkable victory in the Greater Accra Volleyball League. According to him, the atmosphere in camp has been filled with joy and pride since their championship win. He added that the team's success was no surprise, as they had set their sights on the title from the very beginning of the campaign.
Winning Greater Accra League, the feeling is big and high because, look, like you mentioned, there is immigration, there is Air Force, there is Ghana Army, there is Ghana Navy, Ghana Police Service, there is Ghana National Fire Service. Prisons is there and all that. And then we have one of the fearsome civilian clubs called Elwak Wing. They are very, very stubborn. And so once we knew the goal and the target, we decided to prepare well for it. And we say that hard training is the battle.
Now, meanwhile, captain for the Kalibi Volleyball Club, Ajara Abubakar Jabre, has revealed that the season was a challenging one, as most of the players are students balancing academics with training. Despite the difficulties, she said the team remained positive and determined to win the title. She further expressed the team's readiness to compete in the upcoming Saxo Volleyball Championship and the Champion of Champions tournament.
It hasn't been easy from day one because we just started the team with just 7 players. Most of the players are students. They go to campus. They join us on Fridays. They will play matches on Saturday or Sunday. So it was just through teamwork discipline, commitment, and hard work, which made us to achieve our main goal of winning this 2025 GAVA League. That was our main goal, and we are able to win it. So for now, we are done with the GAVA League. We are preparing for SVC. Yeah. And we also have Champion of Champions to play with Ghana Army. Mm-hmm. So for these 2 trophies, we are not letting it go at all. We are ready to conquer for those 2 trophies.
Now, a call has been made for Ghana to invest more in youth through sports and development initiatives. Council of State member and founder of the Tanko Foundation, Gabriel Tanko Kwamiga Atokle, says without investment in young people, the nation risks losing its future leaders. He made the remarks at the grand final of this year's Dume Nefa Regional Sports Festival, an event that has grown into one of the largest youth empowerment platforms in the Volta region.
The 2025 Duamenefa Regional Sports Festival brought together over 60 teams from across the Volta region competing in marathon, volleyball, football, and the symbolic tug of peace games. Over the years, the tournament has evolved from a local gala into a vibrant youth development initiative promoting peace, unity, and talent discovery across communities. Council of State member Gabriel Tanko Kwamiga Atokle called for stronger collaboration among the government, private sector, and civil society to sustain youth development through sports.
If we as a people do not invest in our community, we will forfeit our future. Development is not the exclusive preserve of government, not at all. It is a shared responsibility that requires private citizens, NGOs, traditional authorities, faith groups, and civil society to promote resources, expertise, and patience. When these forces come together, the results are powerful.
And that should be it for us in sports. My name is Benjamin Yamoa.
So let's pick some international updates now, as internet access across Cameroon has been severely disrupted. The African creatives are taking charge of their own. Internet access across Cameroon has been severely disrupted as protests intensify over alleged irregularities in the country's October 12 presidential elections. Well, according to internet monitoring group NetBlock, the ongoing disruption is significant and could hinder media coverage of events on the grounds. Well, the unrest follows a decision by Cameroon's Constitutional Council on Wednesday to dismiss all petitions challenging the election results, paving way for the official declaration of the winner. President Paul Biya, who is 92, is the world's oldest sitting ruler and is widely expected to extend his 43-year-old on power, despite growing opposition calls and change. Protests have erupted in several cities after partial results published by local media indicated Biya was on track to secure another term. Clashes between security forces and opposition supporters have been reported in the northern cities of Maru and Garu. All right, so that's about all we have for you. We're grateful for your time. My name is Kweku Temeng. On behalf of the entire production team tonight, we want to salute you, appreciate you, and also urge you to keep your channel right here. This was News Tonight.